Okay, so let's raise our talking point tonight then. The Gopal Subramanium row. Is there a danger to the independence of judiciary in our country? And joining me tonight to answer that question, people who are associated with the world of judiciary and some both with the world of politics and judiciary. Sanjay Hegde, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court, is joining us here in our studios. Kamini Jaiswal, another Senior Advocate, is joining us live. Subramaniam Swamy, Senior Leader of the BJP. Dr. Amiben Yagnik is representing the Congress. Advocate B.A. Khan, former Chief Justice, Jammu and Kashmir High Court, also joins us. Welcome to all of you. But right at the beginning of the program, let me just go across for a quick comment from Harish Salve, another Senior Supreme Court lawyer who's joining us on the phone line right now. Mr. Salve, you heard all the points being made there by Gopal Subramanium. Where do you stand, sir, on the specific allegations being leveled by Mr. Subramaniam that there seems to be something wrong with the kind of standards, the methodology which has been adopted by the judiciary itself?
See, I would not blame the judiciary or the government. I blame the system which we have allowed to evolve and continue. I have been for the last year or two particularly a trenchant critic of this collegium system. It is not serving the judiciary well, it is not serving Indian democracy well. And the unfortunate controversy which you have seen has been a manifestation of the weakness of the system.
No, you're calling it a weakness of the system, Mr. Salve, but Gopal Subramaniam has been very specific. And let me quote from the letter that he's written. He has said that I am unable to dispel the sense of unease that the judiciary has failed to assert its independence by respecting the likes and dislikes of the executive. Do you believe that this is just a case of sour grapes as far as Gopal Subramaniam is concerned?
I don't want to comment on any specific thing which Gopal has said because frankly I haven't heard it and I don't know what context in which he said it. But let me say one thing very clearly. The system is what is getting the face off. Speaking for myself, I think to say that the executive should not have the last word in appointment of judges is what we all fought for. But equally to say that the executive should have no say in the selection of judges is something which may be unacceptable.
Then who should decide, Mr. Salve? In conclusion, sir, who should be deciding that who should be a judge?
Now, either you go back to the old system, but it was done by mutual consent and mutual consensus without any primacy. Till that system was upset, those conventions were upset by the executive in some cases trying to assert primacy. The judiciary construed the constitution as conferring upon themselves the primacy. And I think law ministers have at times possibly rightly lamented that they have been reduced to post offices. So, no such system can work, and you have seen what goes wrong. Now, Gopal is suggesting that the judges have not supported him. Supported him in what way?
Right.
Today, I don't think the collegium has taken a final decision. Gopal, I am given to understand, has withdrawn his consent.
So you believe he's being unfair?
So,
you believe he's being unfair against the judiciary?
I'm not saying unfair. You see, now the question is what sort of system do we want?
Okay.
And this sort of a system puts the judges in this awkward situation. What should the Chief Justice do in a case like this? And I'm saying this is as a rhetorical question.
Right.
How would it look if the Chief Justice had a press conference?
Right. All right.
Saying the government is right or government is wrong, you know.
Okay.
That is why we need to use this opportunity to flag the need to revisit this system.
All right. Harish Salve, thanks so much for joining us right at the top of India at 9. Your point is that the system needs to be changed. Many would argue that this point of system needing to be changed has been made so often every time there's a controversy. But who then really is going to be held responsible for changing the system? But let me bring you in, Sanjay Hegde. You heard the comments being made there by Mr. Subramaniam. And he's being very, very direct. Do you believe that this is indeed a case where the government of the day has simply decided that this is one person we don't want to be seeing on the bench, therefore we're going to oppose him?
Well, essentially the government seems to question his suitability. This government does not find him suitable.
Why? When you say suitable, what is this definition of suitability?
Well, it is always the executive looks out as to the political predilections of any possible appointment. There have been instances in the past. I remember Justice Rama Joyce, who was Chief Justice of Punjab and Haryana, and the government of the day, this was before the collegium system, essentially put its foot down and said, we will not appoint him because he belongs to a particular political organization.
Right.
The Chief Justice Venkatachalaya then got somebody else from Karnataka appointed. Now that's the past. Today we have a case where the Chief Justice and 5 of the senior most judges have chosen 2 lawyers to join them on the bench.
Right.
Now it's very difficult to get lawyers who have outstanding practices, huge incomes, to make a sacrifice and come onto the bench.
Right.
So this has been done after careful selection, after careful thought.
So
now the government of the day, at that point of time, there was no objection.
Right.
The government changed. This government, for reasons of its own, may be valid, may be invalid, has a certain perception on this one individual. What I take exception to is the way it has gone about it. If they'd honestly said, look, we just don't want this man.
Right.
Or if they'd honestly gone to him and said, please step aside.
Right.
We can't allow this.
Right.
Then all this controversy would have been avoided.
But
instead, they have chosen a path of deliberate leaks, small things, blown up, IB reports. You have essentially questioned his character.
But
and what is a man of honor to do?
My point is that today it's the BJP which is in power. It could have been any party which has been in power.
Absolutely.
And Amiben Yagnik, maybe if the Congress was in power, we could have had a similar story playing out, and we could have raised similar questions against the Congress party as well. Would you be willing to concede, Amiben, today on the program that there is a problem when it comes to accepting individuals who are supposedly neutral or who supposedly may not be towing the line of the government of the day? There is a problem in terms of accepting that individual as a judge of the Supreme Court?
Well, I would completely agree with what Mr. Salve has said and Mr. Hegde has said, because there are a number of issues here with the system, and we may not put it on a particular party or a political party, but the fact remains that because of this inherent inability to deal with these issues within the system, some very fine lawyers, someone like the lawyer par excellence, Gopal Subramanium, we are losing such persons in the judiciary. And so we have to somewhere see that the system accepts some changes, brings some kind of acceptability by way of change, and the system needs to change. But one point comes out very starkly here, that the person here who has given an interview, Mr. Subramaniam, has said what he has to say, that he is independent, he is fiercely having a unblemished career, and everyone would agree with this, all the lawyer fraternity in the country, that is a lawyer par excellence, and we would have loved to have him as a judge. But if the system thinks and finds out reasons to come up with them some very flimsy arguments, and to see that the person is completely facing some character assassination, it doesn't befit the system to carry on like this. And so I think we may not put it on political parties, but the system, both political as well as the judicial system.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with you, Mr. Amiben Yagnik, because, Harish Salve is talking about the point of systems, you're talking about the point of systems, but look at the specific point which is being raised here. Now, here is a man, Gopal Subramanium, either you yourself are saying that he deserves to be on the bench, then you say that the system needs to change. I'm trying to argue that the system perhaps needs to be de-linked in some form from the political parties, because look what Gopal Subramaniam says. He says, I'm fully conscious that my independence as a lawyer is causing apprehensions that I will not toe the line of the government. Now, why would he be having this kind of an apprehension, ma'am? And again, I'm making the point.
Yes,
it's not just about the BJP. It's not just about the BJP. It could be Congress, it could be the BJP.
Yes, because he has been the Solicitor General of this country. He has handled a number of high cases, high stake cases. He knows the system. He said that CBI was his client for 3 decades. He's appeared for several big clients. He knows the system in and out, and that is why he says that his independence and his integrity may be an issue. And so when he has his own apprehensions and he withdraws his consent, why should we not believe him?
Okay, Kamini Jaiswal, coming into the debate here, Amiben Yagnik says the system needs to change. Harish Salve says the system needs to change. Sanjay Hegde says he is upset with the approach which has been used. But my point is, I'm finding this to be a straightforward case of fixing. It's almost as if the government of the day has chosen to fix the entire process. And again, I just want to benefit of our viewers. I just want to quote a point from this letter. This letter which has been written by Mr. Subramaniam. He says, Ministry for Law and Justice initiated an inquiry after 15th of May 2014 with a clear mandate to find something to describe me as unsuitable. Now, if this is not judicial fixing, if this is not fixing being indulged in by the political class, then what is, ma'am?
This is fixing par excellence. This is, I don't think today is a day when we should talk of the system. We have a fact and a case in issue, and we need to discuss that. You cannot ruin a man's character and you do this to him. If he was not competent, 5 senior most judges of the Supreme Court would not have recommended his name.
Right.
The fact that the matter goes right till, you know, the stage of recommendation, goes to the government just because the government changes, you know, this is in keeping with the threats that were being given out by the people belonging to this party, with the expectation, let us come to power and you will not know where to hide, all you people who are appearing in these matters. And the way, or the people who have appeared for the government have been rewarded, is an example of why Mr. Subramaniam has not been appointed. We don't need to go any further.
But then, ma'am, you know,
this is a classic case where he has had to pay a price for his independence, for doing his job well,
but then,
because he did not appear for the accused or for the complainant. He was appearing as an amicus.
Right, but when you make that point and you say that, I'm saying when you say that Gopal Subramaniam is being made to pay a price, then my point is that the other 3 gentlemen who are now going to be sitting on the bench, isn't your comment then also casting an aspersion on their credentials, ma'am?
I'm not, he has not, they've not, because one of them was to be appointed amicus, he refused to appear.
So you believe,
and the other are 2 judges, sitting judges anyway.
So you believe that there is a distinction,
sitting judges that are coming here, so he has had to pay a price because he appeared amicus.
Okay.
I am categorically making this point.
Yes, okay. So he has been made to pay a price, Sanjay Hegde.
In a sense, yes, because look at it. If the CBI could trust him to handle the prosecution of Ajmal Kasab, if the CBI could trust him to send him abroad for David Headley and the interrogation, if the CBI could trust him in case after case after case, then to come and say, no, he is not suitable to be a Supreme Court judge, I am sorry, but that is the Central Bureau of Investigation. Whoever is in power in the center, it works with them.
Okay. B.A. Khan, it's rather interesting that Kamini Jaiswal is...
Absolutely. CBI has given a report.
Yeah.
I want to say something.
Yes.
CBI has always been known to give reports to the liking of the government in power, and they have done exactly this. They were asked to give a report and they've given a report.
Okay, but Advocate Khan, the point is that here everyone is suggesting that he's been made to pay a price. But if I look at the legal history and the kind of cases that Gopal Subramaniam has been associated with, I also find that he was a prosecutor in the Parliament attack case. That was a time when the NDA government was in power. He's handled several cases for the BJP as well. What is it about Gopal Subramaniam becoming an amicus curiae in a case related to the Sohrabuddin Sheikh fake encounter that many panelists on the program believe that he's being targeted?
I don't know. I can see much of ignorance about the methodology for appointment of judges to the Supreme Court and High Court. Most of the panelists I find have gone off the track while discussing this issue, and I also feel that Mr. Gopal Subramaniam has overreacted to something which is a routine in the system. When a collegium makes a recommendation, it goes to the ministry, and ministry's job is to make inquiries, which they do through agencies. They may put up a report, and one of the names may go back to the collegium.
Right.
It's again for the collegium to consider whether the objection raised by the ministry is frivolous or it has some substance. Now that occasion has not been allowed to arise, and Mr. Gopal Subramaniam has perhaps overreacted, which saddens me.
You believe Mr. Subramaniam has overreacted? You believe that Mr. Subramaniam has overacted? He's ended up overplaying his card?
Yes. Because see, this is something which is routine in the system. For example, when a collegium recommends 5 names, very often you will find 2 names being returned. Then collegium again considers and repeats those names. Now, being oversensitive and saying that this the judiciary has not asserted. Judiciary, see, it was a welcome decision of the new Chief Justice of India to have gone to the bar and chosen two eminent lawyers for elevation to the Supreme Court. Now, the whole thing has gone haywire.
Right.
Now, it saddens because this is a loss to the Supreme Court. Mr. Subramaniam withdrawing the candidature is a loss to the Supreme Court. It has also taken away the opportunity of testing the spine of the collegium.
But Sanjay, would you agree with is this a case of Mr. Subramaniam acting in haste, or is this a case where a senior lawyer decides that enough is enough, my character is being assassinated, and he believes that I must move on?
Essentially, the question that Khan Sahib is saying is, did he jump before he was due to be pushed? Now, this is a judgment which the man takes by himself and with his family. You start with one leak, then you go on. Today's leak was something else, that he's slightly eccentric, he's slightly this and that. You do not know what the dirty tricks department of the spook agencies are going to come up with, and you can't really let your character hang out there for people to take pot shots till the entire process goes through or does not go through.
It's a different matter.
Okay,
that's a different matter altogether.
Yes.
See, Mr. Gopal Subramaniam is not hankering for any elevation to the Supreme Court.
Right.
He has a too illustrious a career. He is too eminent a person to be looking for a job somewhere. But that is not the issue.
Right.
Issue is that in most of the cases, if you find in judicial appointments, this kind of a thing is going on. And there is a cottage industry which raises all types of objections against a candidate. A candidate should not run away, and it should provide an opportunity to the collegium to consider whether whatever is being reported against, whether that is good or bad. And you have a number of instances where collegium has repeated the names.
But Kamini Jaiswal, I just want to bring in Kamini ji once again, because while we say that here is an individual who's had such an illustrious legal career, I take that point. He's had an illustrious political career, but he's also an individual who's had many controversies, Kamini ji. After all, he was the Solicitor General in a Congress government. And look at what happened. I mean, he was ultimately forced to step down. When he gave his report as an amicus curiae in the Padmanabhan temple case, look at what happened. There are many people in Kerala who strongly resented the report.
Unfortunately, this is what happens. Fine, but this is what happens when you are independent and you do not, you are not flexible and you are not ready to go with the tide. This is controversy is only created if you are inflexible.
No, so
and therefore, to say that he has jumped the gun, I'm sorry. How many such appointments have you have half page for a week, every day, half page newspaper reports leaked? I mean, a man must be mad if he's going to suffer all the first. He gives up his career,
that this was indeed...
He takes up this job.
I just want to be very clear.
Then he has to suffer these half page reports.
I just want to be very clear.
And he must know what the collegium was also all about, because they have done something which the collegium should not have accepted, and that is separated the file of Mr. Subramanian's name from the three other names.
So that is something that most certainly should not have happened.
That is not permissible, and I'm sorry. Mr. Khan says, I don't know procedure. I think we all know the procedure.
Okay, but Amiben Yagnik, it's very interesting that we're raising this debate about independence of judiciary just a couple of days before the anniversary of emergency itself. Now, would you say that this kind of a case can only be dealt with? For such a long time, we've heard of the setting up of this National Judicial Commission. We've heard about these reforms which must be brought in to ensure the judiciary's transparency, its independence can be maintained. But do you really believe that the political class is serious when it comes to completely making the judiciary completely independent? Can the political class really do that, ma'am?
Well, it will take a long time in order to completely have this kind of a separation, but this present case you can see shows that the institutions are becoming, weakening at by these kind of actions, whether by the executive or the judiciary respecting the executive's decisions. Well, we do not know the exact nature which is happening, but here is a case which shows that 5 judges collegium has thought somebody very fit to join them on the bench, has invited, because it is by invitation that Mr. Subramaniam went and gave the consent, and then when he is let down by anyone or any part of the whole system, it really feels bad that even for the legal fraternity, that it's a sad way to deal with this kind of situations.
Okay.
So I think we need to have a multi-pronged approach if we really want to bring reforms in the system, or to see that the political
But are the parties serious? No, but ma'am, you say that, this is what we need. Maybe you're saying this as a lawyer, but if you were to be putting on your hat as a Congress spokesperson, I mean, how many instances should I bring to your notice about how the Congress has also dealt with the judiciary? Therefore, my point is, can we really believe these assurances that you give, ma'am?
No, there would be instances and instances, because it has been a very long time. We have a couple of judgments also on this issue, which the collegium is following or the system is following. But despite the need for having a lot of reforms here and to change the system so that these things do not happen, and ultimately the sufferer is the legal system and the judicial system, as we
this
just
word
heard that
system,
it would be
Sanjay, I must say, Sanjay, in conclusion,
so,
I must say that no, because you seem to be making this point that the system needs to change. Now, Sanjay Hegde, when the Congress was in power, there was the Ashwini Kumar episode. How many episodes have taken place? The Punjab and Haryana High Court judges. Look at the manner in which the equation was playing out between the governments of the day. When people say that let us change the system, do you really believe it's possible within the existing scenario?
Without a political consensus on this,
is there political will? Do you believe there is political will?
Each set of politicians who comes to power wants to see that somebody friendly to them gets appointed.
That's the point.
And
you need to deal with that problem.
It is too powerful a weapon in their hands. I agree entirely with what Mr. Salve said. We need to change the system, but specifically to insulate it. You need to insulate it from all kinds of political
Mr. Khan, you want to come in
interference.
quickly?
No, this is a reflection on those who have been appointed or who are working as judges. Does Sanjay mean that they are the people who are the favorites of somebody?
I am not making
Surely
a general
not.
comment.
Surely not. Sanjay, that is not. Surely not.
the
Surely not. See, all I am saying is that you don't see in America a candidate being subjected to Senate hearings.
No, but you see what worries me. What worries me, gentlemen,
allegations being leveled against the judges going to the Supreme Court, whether they are Republican.
What worries me, gentlemen, is this, and maybe Mr. Khan, you can take this one. What worries me is that here you have a scenario where one of the senior most lawyers in the Supreme Court, like Mr. Gopal Subramanium, is going to the extent of accusing the judiciary of having succumbed before the executive. I mean, what does it say about that? You may accuse a political class, and you may sit here and say that there is lack of political will.
I don't know.
But what about judiciary itself?
I am not Bupin, I am not privy. I could respond to that. I am not privy to any information whether after ministry raised an objection, whether Chief Justice of India sounded him to withdraw the name. If that is so, then that is a letdown. That means that collegium has not asserted. Yes.
Let me correct him on facts.
So, but if that is not so,
Khan Sahab, just a minute.
Okay.
The letter of Gopal Subramaniam, which I have read, specifically says that the Chief Justice was going to come back on the 28th, and thereafter a decision could have been taken. It is apparent from the letter that Gopal has chosen not to let his name go forward.
Well, because perhaps there was a scenario that Mr. Subramaniam must have realized.
Can't say he has been let down.
Sir, but why? But maybe Mr. Subramaniam was told. Maybe Mr. Subramaniam had been given a hint. He'd been given a nudge.
If that is so,
better that you walk out.
The question is who gave the nudge.
That's the question.
The question is who gave the nudge. If the nudge came from the government, that if you do not withdraw, we will do X, Y, or Z.
Kamini, where do you stand? Kamini, where do you stand on that one?
Yeah, I don't understand, because just because the Chief Justice is not back, it does not mean Gopal could not have had a word with him. I'm sure it is a very well thought of and very well informed decision to withdraw his name. and we are talking of debates that take place in America, what was going on is not a debate. What was going on is character assassination and slander.
Okay.
And no person worth his salt will going to suffer this for nothing.
So in conclusion, if I was to ask you, all of you, who should be held responsible for this kind of a fiasco, Sanjay, that we have seen here? Judiciary, government, or as Mr. Khan was trying to point out earlier, Gopal Subramanium himself, having acted in haste?
Well, the government of the day should have found a more convenient way of indicating to Mr. Subramaniam that maybe, possibly it would be for the good of the nation that he stepped aside.
So
there would have been a much more graceful way of doing it.
Kamini, is this a case of a majority government perhaps getting carried away by the numbers that it has in Parliament?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can see what we are in for. It's going to be full of vengeance.
It's going to be full of vengeance.
Just because he was appointed amicus in a matter, this is,
Okay. And Ami Ben Yagnik,
people getting rewarded and people getting
Ami Ben Yagnik, the Parliament session is just about to begin. I've seen various Congress spokespersons coming out and saying that, oh, it's such a bad reflection on how the BJP is going about treating institutions. What is it that the Congress can really do?
Well, constructive opposition, because we have been saying this for a long time now, looking at the Gujarat model, that institutions are being weakened and the democratic institutions do not function the way they are. So we will definitely raise this issue and try to see that, well, though the mandate is there, we need to have these changes.
And Mr. Khan, do you believe any of these points? Subramaniam Swamy unfortunately has gone away, but do you believe these assurances which keep coming from political parties? So do you believe these assurances really, or do you take that with a pinch of salt?
No. I take that with the pinch of salt. And all governments do this kind of a thing. Whether that be a Congress government, whether that be an NDA government or whatever government.
Right.
Because in accordance with our present mechanism and system, there are ways how to sideline a candidate you may not like.
Okay.
And for that, agencies are being asked to inquire into things and put up an adverse report.
Well, in
and
conclusion,
you have so many cases where adverse reports are.
In conclusion, all that I can say is this: that it's high time that whether it's the political class or the judiciary, they need to sit together and they need to work out that instances like these, episodes like these, do not play themselves out in this manner, because it doesn't do anyone any favor. Certainly, it reflects poorly on the state of our democracy. But thank you, all of you, for joining me on this edition of India at 9. Subramaniam Swamy there, walking out, choosing to not be a judge of the Supreme Court, and thereby raising many questions. Hopefully, those questions will be looked at seriously by all the stakeholders in this entire debate.